I thought my brother was grieving, but he was forging our dad's will while I was mourning. I discovered my dad's secret will, and now my brother hates me. My name is Emma, fake name. I'm a 32-year-old mom of two. My husband is Chris, 34, and our kids are Lauren, 6, and Max, 3. Last Thursday I learned my father left me nothing, and now my brother is insisting I walk away forever. I breezed into Dad's study after work, planning only to grab his spare baby monitor for Max. Chris was at home wrapping up a late shift call, the kids were at Grandma's for pizza night, and my mind was on bedtime stories. I didn't expect anything out of the ordinary. But the study door was cracked, and inside, on Dad's antique desk drawer, lay a thick envelope labeled, "Final Wishes." My heart skipped. I thumbed the drawer open and found a crisp, typed will dated 2 months before Dad died. My name wasn't in it. Neither was Chris's. It left everything, house, savings, stamp collection, to my brother Daniel. No explanation. No note. I sank onto the leather chair, heartbeat roaring. My father and I had been close. I'd moved home after his diagnosis to help. We'd shared coffee mornings talking about life, love, the kids. He never hinted at resentment, or this. My phone pinged. A text from Chris. "Got stuck in a meeting. Everything okay?" I stared at the screen. Dad's shirt hung on the chair back. I pressed call, but my voice cracked. I tapped out. "Found something. We need to talk." I tucked the will into my bag and hurried out, trying not to tremble. In the hall, Daniel appeared, smart in his suit, Dad's former business partner turned executor. His eyes narrowed when he saw me. "Emma," he said, voice cool. "You look pale." I squared my shoulders. "I found Dad's will." I held up the envelope. "This one." He glanced at it and tipped his head. "That's the updated version. He asked me to bring it to you." "Updated?" My pulse pounded. "You mean he disowned me?" Daniel's lips thinned. "He changed his mind about the estate. You know he worried about your spending." "Dad never told me." I swallowed hard. I cared for him in the last weeks of his life. His jaw clenched. "He was my client, and your father. But he believed I'd manage his affairs best." My chest tightened. "So you're the only one who deserves to carry on his name?" Daniel took a step closer. "I'm just following his instructions." I felt tears burn behind my eyes. "I'm his daughter, not a transaction." He crossed his arms. He wanted simplicity. No family drama. I shook my head, palms sweaty. "This is the biggest drama I've ever faced." Daniel's phone buzzed. He glanced down and straightened. "Listen, Emma, I don't want a fight. Please just accept it." "Accept being erased?" I whispered. His eyes hardened. "If you value what we have left, you'll let this go. Legally, it's binding." "Binding?" Rage and grief collided in my chest. "You're a lawyer. You know how to contest this." He raised a single eyebrow. "I also know Dad's final wishes are sacred." My hands shook. "You're crushing my whole life." He turned away. "I have to go finalize the paperwork." I grabbed his arm. "You can't do this without me." He shrugged my hand off like a stray thread. "I already did." He strode down the hall, wallet-sized envelope in his pocket, my world unspooling behind him. I sank into Dad's chair, numb. Dad's voice echoed in my mind. "You'll always be my daughter." I pressed my fingers to the desk's smooth edge. The typed words had replaced his love with a stranger's signature. I sank forward, trembling. I had no house, no savings, no stamp collection, nothing but questions. And Daniel's cold dismissal. My phone buzzed again. A message from Chris. "Are you okay? Call me." I stared at the screen. I needed more than coffee to steady me. I needed to know if I could challenge this, without losing my brother forever. Because right now, my family was fracturing in ways I never imagined. I barely slept. Daniel's smug expression haunted me, like he was the heir to everything Dad held dear, and I was suddenly a stranger. By dawn, I'd downed 2 cups of coffee and steeled myself to tell Chris. He was in his home office, half-dressed for a video call. When I burst in, he ended the meeting with a quick, "Be right back." I dropped the envelope on his desk. His brow furrowed as he read. "Emma," he whispered, trailing off. I paced. "He disinherited me, Chris. Everything goes to Daniel." My voice cracked. "I'm cut out of Dad's life savings, like I never existed." Chris stood and pulled me into a hug. His warmth did little to thaw my panic. "We'll fight this," he said. "Dads don't change wills overnight without good reason." I shook free. "Good reason? What reason justifies erasing your own child?" I wiped at my eyes. "I've been living at his house, caring for him. I was there every day." Chris rubbed my back. "I know." He straightened. "We need legal advice." I nodded, heart hammering. "I'll call Aunt Lorraine. She's a paralegal." Later that morning, I met Lorraine at a cafe across town. She sipped herbal tea as I unloaded the envelope on the table. "This looks fishy," she said, reading the typed will. No notary stamp. No attorney header. Just Dad's signature on the last page? I nodded. And witness signatures. Daniel's handwriting. Her eyes narrowed. He drafted this himself? He'd need witnesses, but a lawyer would prepare it. Something's off. She pulled out a notepad. First, we get the original will from Dad's attorney. Then we compare dates, signatures, letterheads. I pressed my palms together. What about contesting it? Lorraine sipped again. You can petition the probate court to admit the earlier will if you prove undue influence or lack of capacity. But you'll need evidence, emails, diary entries, witness testimony. My stomach lurched. Dad mentioned nothing. Lorraine tapped her pen. You lived there. You saw him daily. Did he ever mention wanting to change his will? I shook my head. He was tired, but not unwell mentally. He joked about leaving the stamp collection to you. Lorraine's lips curled. That's a clue. The stamp collection was in the old will. Yours, right? My chest tightened. Yes. She leaned in. You have motive. Your brother has motive. Find any drafts, notebooks, or calls where Dad said something different. I exhaled, overwhelmed. I'll search the study. Lorraine patted my hand. I'll put you in touch with a probate attorney friend. This isn't something you should handle alone. Back at Dad's house, I unlocked the study door with trembling hands. Light spilled across the carpet, littered with paper scraps from my earlier tearful sweep. I sat at his desk and opened every drawer, emptied every shelf. Dad's notebooks lay stacked, his pharmacy receipts, grocery lists, a log of his daily meds. No will drafts. Then, in the bottom drawer hidden by an old calendar, I found a folded sheet, Dad's handwritten thoughts on estate planning. It mentioned me by name, rambled about dividing antiques and cars, but nothing about disinheritance. I slipped it into my bag. My phone buzzed, a message from Chris. Did Lorraine find anything? I texted back. Working on it. I exhaled and turned to the desk. A small brass key lay next to his reading glasses, one I hadn't noticed before. I ran my finger over its edge. It looked like a safe deposit box key. Adrenaline surged. Dad had rented a box years ago. Where did he keep the receipt? I rifled through files in the corner cabinet and found a bank statement, branch, box 42, key in my purse now. My pulse rattled. If that box held the original will, I'd have proof. If Daniel got to it first, I was doomed. That evening, after Chris tucked the kids in, we stood in the kitchen, dim light above us. I laid out my finds, the thought sheet, the bank statement, Lorraine's notes. Tomorrow morning, I'm heading to the bank first thing. I said, voice tight. I need to see box 42. Chris nodded. I'll be there with you. His eyes were fierce. We're in this together, always. I pressed my hand to his cheek. Thank you. Later, I opened the typed will again. Daniel's witness signature on the bottom. His handwriting looked practiced, almost too neat. I wondered how many times he'd drafted that page before Dad signed. In the hush of the house, I realized the fight wasn't just for Dad's money. It was for my father's love, for truth, for my place in the family he built. And I wouldn't rest until I uncovered it, no matter how deep the secrets ran. The sun wasn't even up when Chris and I pulled into the bank's parking lot. My stomach churned as we stepped through the glass doors. The vault attendant greeted us with a polite nod. He'd been tipped to expect us. My breath hitched when he led us past rows of safety deposit boxes. Box 42 sat unassuming, its steel door locked tight. I pressed the brass key into the lock and turned. Click. The door swung open to reveal a single manila envelope stamped with Dad's initials. My heart hammered. Take your time, Chris whispered, standing beside me. I lifted the envelope and slipped it out. It was heavy, like carrying Dad's last heartbeat. I ripped it open and pulled out a crisp, original will, typed on lawyer letterhead, signed and notarized. My name and Chris's name were right there, legible and unambiguous. Relief and joy tangled in my chest. Got it, I breathed, sliding the will into my bag. We closed the box and locked it back up. The attendant handed me a receipt. I tucked that in too. I clung to the envelope as if it were my lifeline home. Back in the car, I peeled off the safe deposit key and popped it into my pocket. Chris started the engine. You okay? He asked, eyes glued to the paper in my hand. I nodded, tears streaking down my cheeks. He did love me. He did trust me. I clutched the will tighter. This is the real deal. Chris reached over and brushed my hair back. Now we just need to show it to the court. I exhaled, second winds of fear rushing in. What about Daniel? He'll fight submission. Maybe even claim this was planted or stolen. Chris set his jaw. Then we bring him into mediation. We show the notary stamp, the attorney's letterhead, Dad's own handwriting on amendments. It's airtight. I bit my lip. I hope you're right. Later that morning, we met Lorraine, my paralegal aunt, at her office. She scanned the notarized will and compared it side by side with the typed, final wishes, from Dad's desk. This blows it out of the water, she said, pointing to the raised seal. This is legitimate. The other one is bogus. I let out a shaky laugh. Bogus. That's the word. Lorraine's expression softened. Next step, emergency filing. You need to file a motion to admit this will immediately and suspend probate on the other one. Daniel's lawyer will argue technicalities, so we need to be thorough. I nodded, adrenaline coursing. Let's do it. She tapped her pen. I'll draft the motion today. You sign, I file. We'll request a hearing within a week and notify Daniel's counsel. Relief and dread tangled in my veins. Thank you. That afternoon, Daniel called my cell. I took a deep breath and answered. Emma, he said, voice tight. I heard you filed something. Yes, I replied, holding the phone steady. I found Dad's original will at the bank. It supersedes the others. I filed to admit it today. There was a crackle of static, then Daniel's voice, angry, wounded. You're making a huge mistake. I'm making sure Dad's true intentions are honored, I said, voice firm. You can contest it, but it won't hold up. He scoffed. You're playing lawyer now? Fine. See you in court. He hung up. My fingers trembled. I sank to the floor of my office corner. Chris appeared in the doorway. How was that? I closed my eyes. He's furious. Chris sat beside me. Better furious than smug. I let out a shaky laugh. You're right. That evening, after tucking the kids in, I sat at the dining table with Chris and Lorraine's draft motion. We reviewed every clause, every citation. I watched Chris read it, his brow furrowed, mouth set. He cleared his throat. This is solid. I exhaled, the weight lifting slightly. I'm still scared of what Daniel will do. Chris reached across and squeezed my hand. We have the truth. That scares him more than any tactic. I opened the envelope again and ran my finger over Dad's signature. The paper felt sacred. Tomorrow, we send this to the court and serve Daniel. He nodded. And then we prepare for the hearing. I closed my eyes and pictured Dad in his favorite chair, coffee mug in hand, smiling at me. I whispered, "Thank you, Dad." The house fell silent around us. Outside, night settled like a blanket. Inside, I felt a spark of hope. The real war was back in my hands, and I was ready to fight, for Dad, for my children, and for the family I refused to lose. The morning of the hearing dawned crisp and clear, an irony I couldn't ignore. Outside, birds chirped as if nothing was wrong. Inside, my heart pounded like a drum. Chris and I arrived at the courthouse just before 10. The marble steps felt cold under our feet. I clutched Dad's original will in my bag, laminated copy on top so I could retrieve it without fumbling. In the hallway, I spotted Daniel waiting near the courtroom door. He looked tense, shoulders hunched like he'd aged overnight. His lawyer hovered beside him, whispering into a phone. I felt a flicker of sympathy. He wasn't always the enemy. But then I remembered the dread I'd felt in that study, reading my own erasure. Chris slipped an arm around my waist as we approached. "No matter what happens, we did the right thing," he murmured. I nodded, breath catching. We stepped into courtroom 3B. The judge from the preliminary hearing presided again, her silver hair neatly pulled back. Daniel sat at the plaintiff's table. I took my seat opposite, heart thumping. Mark stood to open for us. He laid out our case. The notarized 2016 will, the suspicious and signed typed document, and Daniel's failure to follow proper procedure. He called first witness, Mom, who'd flown in at my request. Her presence felt like both balm and acid. She took the stand and spoke of Dad's loving words about dividing his estate equally. I watched Daniel's face tighten as she recalled his final weeks without mention of a new will. Next, Mark presented the bank receipt and affidavit from the vault attendant confirming when I retrieved the will. The judge asked direct questions. "Can anyone else access safe deposit box 42? The attendant replied. "No, only Ms. Jacobs." That sealed the chain of custody. Daniel's lawyer rose to object. "Your Honor, this evidence may be contaminated. Ms. Jacobs had motive." Mark cut him off smoothly. "Objection, Your Honor, that is speculative. The evidence speaks for itself." The judge nodded. "Sustained. Proceed." When Daniel's lawyer finally addressed the court, he quibbled over technicalities. The absence of a judge's signature on a crucial form, the witness who signed on Daniel's behalf, but offered no real counter-evidence. Daniel himself did not testify again. He sat with his head down, shoulders slumped. Then it was my turn. Mark invited me to approach. My legs felt like jelly as I walked up. I handed the judge the original will. She examined the seal, set it on her bench. My voice trembled as I said, "This is my father's final signed will. It supersedes any earlier drafts." The courtroom was silent, too silent. I wanted to shout relief, but instead I returned to my seat, heart pounding. Mark delivered his closing argument. A valid will must reflect the testator's intent, proper execution, and freedom from undue influence. Ms. Jacobs has provided unbroken evidence of the genuine document. The typed draft, he gestured toward Daniel's camp, lacks any legitimacy. We asked the court to invalidate it and uphold her father's true testament. Daniel's lawyer stood for his rebuttal, but it fell flat. The judge leaned forward, fingers steepled. I held Chris's hand. "Finally," she said, "I find in favor of Ms. Jacobs. The 2016 notarized will is valid. The subsequent document is declared void. This court dismisses further contest." She rapped her gavel. Relief washed over me, warm and sudden. Chris hugged me so tight I thought I'd breathe his air. Daniel rose slowly, his eyes on me. He approached and offered a hand. I'm sorry," he whispered. I felt tears sting. I took his hand. I know. My voice caught. Let's rebuild. Outside, sunshine was brighter than it had any right to be. Mom waited on the steps, tears rolling down her cheeks. She hugged me fiercely. Lauren and Max tumbled out of Grandma's arms, shrieking with excitement. Daniel gathered them. Hey, champs. His rough voice couldn't hide relief. He smiled when they piled into his arms. Chris slipped an arm around my shoulders. We did it, he said softly. I leaned into him, looking at our family, fractured but together again. I realized this chapter wasn't just about inheritance, but about reclaiming my place in Dad's legacy and in my brother's heart. As we walked down those courthouse steps, I knew the road ahead would still have potholes, questions of trust, of forgiveness, of moving forward. But for today, I chose to savor this moment, the end of a battle and the start of a true family reunion. The days between filing our motion and the hearing felt like wading through molasses. Every morning I woke with a knot of dread in my chest, convinced Daniel's lawyers would unearth some new twist. I clung to Chris, his quiet confidence the only lifeline keeping me afloat. Monday morning, Mark sent an email. The hearing was set for Thursday at 10. He reminded me to prepare mentally. Bring your calm, Emma. The court isn't a cage match, it's about facts. But I felt raw, exposed, like my father's papers lay bare my every flaw. That afternoon, I sat at Dad's old desk, sorting through his letters for any stray memo hinting at estate changes. The yellowed stationery from years ago made me ache, his precise loops and loops of cursive, his gentle scrawl in the margins. I traced each word with a trembling finger, searching for a clue I'd missed. Chris came home early, concern in his eyes. You've got to rest, he said, guiding me to the couch. No more digging today. I shook my head. I can't stop now. I need to know he meant to protect me. He sank beside me and took my hand. You have the notarized will. That's proof of his intent. I squeezed his hand, but the panic wouldn't abate. It's not enough. Daniel will claim you helped me forge it. He covered my other hand. Then we showed the bank receipt, Mrs. Harris's statement. We have witnesses. I'll be there Thursday morning, no matter what. I nodded, tears welling. Thank you. Tuesday, a curveball. The court clerk called. The safe deposit box receipt had a typo. The date stamp read 2015, not 2016 as on Dad's draft. Suddenly our golden proof looked brittle. Lorraine assured me it was a clerical error, they'd correct it under seal. But I lay awake imagining the judge tossing our evidence out for inconsistent documentation. Wednesday morning, I woke with panic so real it left me gasping. I found Chris asleep on the couch, laptop open to Mark's last email. Don't panic. We'll file an affidavit from the vault manager explaining the typo. It happens. I nuzzled him, hoping his warmth would conquer my fear. That afternoon, I met with Mrs. Harris at the nursing home where she worked part-time. Her face brightened when she saw me. Hello, dear. Over tea, she confirmed Dad's draft was originally dated October 12, 2016, the same date on my handwritten copy. She'd witnessed him copy it into a ledger afterward. We recorded her testimony on video, insurance against any typos. Walking back to the car, I felt a flicker of relief. But it was short-lived. My phone buzzed, a text from Daniel. Meet me at Dad's tomorrow evening. I want to talk. My breath caught. Was this a peace offering or a trap? Thursday dawned inky gray. I couldn't eat breakfast, but Chris insisted on driving me to the courthouse. We arrived early and sat in the car silent. I clutched the motion packets. He held my hand between his knees. Whatever happens, we face it together, he whispered. I closed my eyes. I know. I straightened my shoulders, took a deep breath, and stepped into courtroom 3B. The judge looked over at me, eyebrows lifting in recognition. Daniel was already there, jaw set, but he didn't meet my gaze. Mark took the podium first, submitting the vault manager's affidavit alongside Mrs. Harris's testimony. The judge scanned the corrected date and nodded. "Thank you, counsel," she said. "Proceed." Then came Daniel's lawyer, who pounced on the date discrepancy. "Prima facie evidence that the document's authenticity is questionable." My heart pitched. I felt his words drowning me. Daniel's lawyer smirked and sat down. Daniel rose, surprising me. He strode to the front and turned to the judge. "Your Honor," he began, voice steady. I requested a meeting with Emma because I hope to resolve this outside court." He paused, swallowing. "I made a mistake. I pressured our father in his final weeks, convinced him to sign a new will. But I see now that he was confused and weak. I'm here to withdraw my contest and acknowledge the 2016 will as his true intent." A stunned hush fell. I stared at him, pulse pounding. He continued, looking at me for the first time. "Emma, I'm sorry. I let my own fears drive me. I want us to be siblings again." I blinked back tears. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Jacobs, do you understand you're admitting to undue influence?" He nodded, shoulders sagging. "Yes, ma'am." The judge tapped her pen. "Counsel for the estate?" She looked at Mark. Mark stood, expression unreadable. "Your Honor, with Mr. Jacobs' statement and the evidence presented, we ask the court to confirm the 2016 will and close this matter." The judge set her gavel down. "So ordered." I exhaled, relief and disbelief washing over me like warm rain. Chris reached for my hand, his grip fierce. Daniel sank back in his seat, head bowed, but when I caught his eye he offered a small, weary nod. We all stood and filed out. Outside the courtroom, sunlight peeked through clouds, an unexpected blessing. Daniel approached, voice soft. "Emma, can we talk here?" I nodded. "Yes." He led me to a bench under a budding maple. "I ruined things," he said. "I'm sorry." Tears slipped free. "I forgive you," I whispered. He exhaled. "Help me earn it back." I smiled through tears. "One day at a time." He hugged me awkwardly, brother and sister again, tentative but together. As Chris joined us, I realized the valley before the victory had been the hardest test. But we passed it. Tomorrow, we'd pick up the pieces, family dinners at Dad's old table, memories reclaimed. Tonight, though, I let the sun warm my face and savored the quiet promise of a true fresh start. The morning after the hearing felt surreal. No alarms blared. No motions to file. Just quiet sunlight spilling into our bedroom. I woke to Chris's steady breathing beside me and the soft hum of daily life moving on outside our window. I slipped out of bed and found Dad's old keyring on the nightstand. One brass key, one silver. The safe deposit box key sat next to my phone. I tucked them both into my pocket, ready to close this chapter properly. Downstairs, the house smelled of fresh coffee. Sarah, my mother, stood by the stove, stirring pancake batter with practiced ease. Lauren and Max zoomed past, playing tag around the kitchen island. Daniel was there too, carrying wood logs for the fireplace, his shoulders more relaxed than they'd been in weeks. I paused in the doorway. This was the family Dad wanted, imperfect, messy, but together. Daniel spotted me and set the logs down. "Hey," he said, voice a little uncertain. "Thought we could, have breakfast?" "All of us." I nodded, chest light. "I'd like that." We gathered around the table. Mom flipped pancakes while Daniel poured juice. Chris grabbed silverware, and I placed Dad's framed photograph, him smiling, on the center of the table. It felt right, his presence at our meal. Mom cleared her throat. "Emma, Daniel, thank you for working this out. I know it wasn't easy." Daniel shrugged modestly. "It shouldn't have been this hard." He smiled at me. "I'm sorry, Em." I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Me too." We sat down, and the first plate landed. Forkfuls of flapjack hit our mouths. For a moment, no one spoke, only the soft clatter of dishes. Finally, Lauren piped up. "Can we see Grandpa's stamps later?" I want to help organize them. Daniel laughed, reaching into his jacket pocket for the envelope of stamps Dad left me. Absolutely. Let's make it a weekend project. Max chimed in. And story time. Chris winked. Story time it is. Mom poured coffee and toast onto her plate. She caught my eye and mowed. Proud. I smiled back. No words were necessary. After breakfast, we migrated to the living room. The chemo journal and the wills lay side by side on the mantel, artifacts of two very different battles. I picked up Dad's real will and slid it into its frame next to his photo. The typed, forged one went into my file cabinet, evidence, but no longer our story. Daniel brought over 2 photo albums. Found these in the attic, he said. We flipped through snapshots of childhood birthdays, summer vacations, random silly moments, Dad goofing around in a sombrero, rain-soaked camping trips, family barbecues. The pages crackled under our fingers, each photo a testament to shared history. As we turned the pages, laughter filled the room. Mom pointed at a picture of 6-year-old Daniel with chocolate smeared on his face. Lauren mimicked his grin. Even Max tried a messy chocolate mustache pose. In that moment, it felt like no will or court order could tear us apart again. That evening, Chris and I tucked the kids into bed. We paused in the doorway, listening to their soft breaths. They seemed happy today, he whispered. I leaned into him. Today was the best day in a long time. He kissed my temple. Thank you for fighting for us. My eyes fluttered. Thank you for standing beside me. In the living room, the final light burned low over Dad's desk. I sat in his leather chair, keys in hand. I opened the bottom drawer and slid the typed, fraudulent will into an envelope marked case dismissed, then tucked it away in the cabinet. Closure at last. I exhaled and rose, crossing to the mantel. Dad's framed will and photo stared back at me, the real testament to his love. I touched the frame gently and whispered, I love you, Dad. Chris joined me, wrapping an arm around my waist. We stood together in the soft glow, the house humming with warmth and life. Outside, the night was peaceful. Inside, we'd rebuilt a family stronger than any piece of paper. And tomorrow, with the story settled, we'd fill our pages with new moments, everyday joys, Sunday pancakes, bedtime stories, knowing that true legacy isn't what you own, but the love you share.